Hi there guys, and welcome to this video here for today, whether you're here for the first time or you're returning. What we're discussing today is a new series essentially, which I'm calling EDH Basics. So in this series I walk through different subjects around the basics of EDH, or topics or talking points, etc. And in this one, I'm basically saying I want to get into EDH. Now what? But just before we get too far going on into the video, we make lots of great content here on the channel. But did you know that over 94% of people that are watching this video right now aren't subscribed? It would be of great help for this channel if you would consider subscribing, so please think about subscribing. It really helps out the channel a lot. All right, so this is a video in which I believe like most of the people that would start getting into EDH, like if or whatever, MTG, whatever, you've already decided basically where you want to go, what you want to do, roughly speaking at least. You want to get into this format, and now you're faced with like, oh wow, now what am I going to do? Like, there is so many options. There is literally hundreds and thousands of commanders out there. There's hundreds and thousands of decks. There's hundreds and millions and probably billions of cards out there. So it's very daunting for new people, and that's what I want to do with these EDH basics sort of thing, is to get into this mindset, I guess, of I'm just starting out. I have no idea what's going on with EDH, because that it doesn't sound like it's that common of a thing, but there's just so many people out there that go, oh, this thing sounds very interesting, Commander sounds very interesting, I'd love to play with my friends, this game sounds cool, I've seen people maybe play it here or there or whatever, I've seen people talk about it or whatnot, things like this. So I think I want to get into it or give it a try or whatnot and this sort of thing. And then it's like, oh my god, where do I start? Because it's just like you're bombarded with a lot of stuff when you start getting into like this format. Like where should you like start? Like you're always chasing different things when you're starting out, because it's like, should I just copy and paste somebody else's deck list? And again, even if like, again, I'm assuming that most people when they get to this point know most or fairly mostly the basic rules of MTG, like, because you wouldn't get into playing the game like this deeply, I think, if you weren't like somewhat enamored with most of the rules, like how many cards do I draw at the start of my turn, how many lands am I allowed to play per turn, or whatnot, this sort of thing. When can I summon artifacts or enchantments or creatures and things like this, like all those sorts of things. Like, Commander's a bit different again, because you've got that, like, oh, now I'm not just facing one person or whatever, I've got 3 opponents or whatever, but I've also got 3 potential allies as well, because I can make deals with people and I can do all this interesting political stuff, or I can just like try to fly under the radar and seem not like a threat. I can bluff my way through some situations. There's all these little social things that, are going on and whatnot and things like that, again, in the game. So it's just one of those things it's much more different. Now you've got decisions to make. Oh, am I going to attack Steve instead of Alan? Or am I going to attack Alan instead of Lynette or whatever, or am I going to attack Lynette or Steve, who am I going to attack, or whatever. It probably doesn't really matter that much on like the first few turns or whatever, and things like that. But again, like sometimes it's like, oh look, I'm just trying to get in that chip damage because of something or whatever, or just I want the game to go at a certain pace. I don't want to sit here and be here for another 3 hours. So get that chip damage in there. Why not? Things like that. But again, just like getting into it, it's like, oh, okay, now what? Like, and again, there's so many options. Like, you've got pre-constructed decks that you can buy off the shelf. It's a ready-made deck. I often say that it's not the best way to go, but it's the simplest way to go. And I think that's what a lot of new people just want. And that's why people copy deck lists or just go, into EDH Rec and copy an average deck list and things like this, is because it's just like, okay, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to figure it out or whatever. Like, okay, I'm on a $50 budget or a $100 budget or whatever. How can I get myself a commander deck? How can I get into this format and start playing? Like, that's the main thing. And, like, yeah, that's fine and fair enough because, again, like, pre-constructed decks are filled with a lot of valuable cards, even sometimes doubly exceeding or triply exceeding, or even sometimes more, the value of the product that you're actually buying within, like, what's in the deck. Again, yes, a lot of it's lands and 25-cent, but, common and uncommon cards or whatnot, things like this. But after a while, all those 25 cents plus a $5 card here or there, whatever, builds up to a lot. So again, it is a very optional, like, space, and there's so much to explore when you're getting into, like, okay, I want to play this game, and there's a lot of talk out there of, EDH and whatnot, all these different podcasts and YouTube sites and whatnot, and this is where I want to focus in some of my YouTube stuff, is because I really don't think there's enough for new players, and I want you guys who are new players or just starting out, like, tell me, are you a 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 13-year-old kid or whatever, like 14, 15, 20, whatever year old, person, like, getting into this game? Are you a 50-year-old, 80-year-old person getting into this game for the first time? It doesn't matter what age group you're in. Anyone could get into this game at any point, at any time. If you want to get into this game, it's a great game to get into if you just want to have some fun games with friends. And that's what I think, like, 98 or even more people want. They don't really want to go down to their game store and like, okay, how am I going to get on the Pro Tour? Like, there are people that are like that. I get that. But for the most part, people go, you know what, I haven't got that much time to dedicate to this game, and you've really got to be good at the game, and you've really got to know what's going on, and you've really got to be able to keep up with, what should I sideboard for this, and all these little things and whatnot. Most people don't care about that stuff. Most people say, I want to find myself a deck, I want to, sleeve it up, shuffle it up, and play. That's what I want, and I just want to play with my friends. Like, that's what people want. Commander, EDH is the best way to do that, I find, and that's why it's just so popular. There's no other real game that's like EDH. There's video games that are out there that you can play that are like multiplayer or cooperative and things like this, and MMORPGs and things like that, but there's nothing like Commander where you can, like, there's Monopoly and other games that you play with people and things like this, but again, you don't get the same, like, atmosphere when you're playing Monopoly or these other games, or King's Dilemma or Scythe or whatever else, all these other games, whatnot, because Commander is a very special and, specific game unto itself. There's just nothing like it. I've seen a lot of people go into Flesh and Blood in the last few, weeks and months and whatnot, and a lot of people are going, dude, this is okay, but I kind of want to just play it as if it were Commander. I've seen Pokemon players try to do this in and things like this, or Yu-Gi-Oh players, and try to incorporate the multiplayer aspect of Commander, things like that, into their game, because they're just like, dude, we have 4 people we want to play with at the same time. And that's the thing about Commander, is, like, you just rock up with your friends, or you just, like, go out with your friends and go, okay, cool, I've bought my, deck with me, let's shuffle up, roll some dice, see who's going first, and play, like, those are the things that happen. You know, you go out to a bar, you go out to your local gaming store, whatever, you know, gather around the kitchen table or whatnot, you know, set up your playmats and your dice and your drinks and whatever, you know, maybe have some pizza or whatever. All this stuff happens, you know, again, you know, and getting into EDH is one of those things. You get on this path of going, where do I start? How do I start? And then you get to the next step of going, okay, cool, I've started playing the game and I've started playing a deck. Maybe it's not the best deck for me, but, you know, it was a nice start. So maybe I want to, you know, new deck, or I want to change this deck. I want to upgrade it, or I want to do stuff to it, make it a little bit better, take out some of the cards that, yeah, they're cool on their own, or they do something cool maybe in another deck or whatever, but for the most part, for this deck, they're just not really what I'm doing or on theme enough for what I want to do. So I just want to take them out and put in more on theme cards, things like this. You know, again, you can look at the competitive side of EDH, or the more competitive side of EDH again, and start looking at going, well, should I build a, you know, higher power deck, or should I try to build a CDH deck? I know that's much further down the road, but again, it's something that crosses a lot of people's mind. Or should I, you know, play with people that are playing CDH? Should I at least experience what, you know, like they actually do, and what, you know, how their decks are different, or should I get advice for them or whatnot, and things like this. Just in saying, oh, well, I'm only playing, you know, casual games, I'm not playing, you know, that higher level. So again, there's so much here to explore, and this is just like the first, like, maybe a little bit. I think maybe I want to take a little bit of a step back, maybe here or there, to discuss like why you should decide to get into EDH, or how do you get into Magic more so. But this channel is more focused on EDH overall. So, you know, that is what happens. And again, I think I've sort of said this in a video or whatever before here or there recently, that perhaps I'll look at just like focusing this channel 100% basically on EDH, and just like making an offshoot channel of some sort, or maybe just like putting like more gaming and anime sort of stuff in the background to a degree, because like most of the stuff I do here is EDH related, and like the branding and stuff really needs to be focused towards that. But you guys don't need to worry about that anyway. But I'm just saying, you know, this is the sort of stuff that I'm doing as part of this channel and whatnot, to try to give you guys, you know, entertainment and like places to start thinking about things. So I want to keep doing this series. And again, as I said, this isn't like a complete thing. This is maybe a part one or whatever, as I sort of said, of a series of videos that I want to do, where I'm just sort of going, okay, we've decided to get into EDH. What's going to be my first commander? You know, like things like this, or, you know, basic tips, you know, basic tricks and trades and hacks and things like this, or whatever, these sorts of things that I can bring into video form for much newer players, because I really want new people who don't know much about the format and whatnot, to just be able to be like, okay, where do I start? What do I do? How do I get in? Rather than just being like, I have no idea, so I'm not even going to bother, because it's just like, well, where do I look for this stuff? So I want to make these things for people that, you know, are newer, like even like somewhat, like maybe you've been playing for a couple months or whatever, and now you're just in that space of going, well, I've played this deck for a little bit. What are some good resources for me? How can I improve it? Or how can I find a better deck? Again, maybe I still want to stick to a, you know, lower budget or whatever, or I want to stick to upgrading this deck with a certain budget or whatever, because again, even though I'm invested in the game, I don't want to be like arms deep in the game. I don't want to have to try to find myself a, you know, tiger or an original dual land for, you know, a couple $100,000 or whatever, or things like this. Like even like a $50 card might be out of range for me, because, you know, once I start saying, well, I have one $50 card in there, why don't I have you know, all of my cards be $50 or more, whatever, you know, like things like this. So there's always these little things, and I really want to discuss them. So, guys, let me know, are you a new player or a new-ish player? And, you know, just where are you at? Like, where do you want to start? Like, what are some of the questions? Because this is the sort of things that will actually help me to help you get into this game, and you can let me know all your thoughts. Write them down there in the comments below. Hey, you've just finished watching one of our videos. A bunch of other videos are popping up on your screen now for you to check out, so why not check them out?